Hey everybody, it's Rod with VanGuns coming at you with another video. Hey, today I want to talk a little bit about the Tikka T3X Superlight that I picked up last summer. And it was a first hunting rifle I picked up that wasn't chambered in 30-06 ever. So I've always had a 30-06. I just think 30-06 is just a really good, versatile round. Can really do everything from varmints up to elk and do it pretty well. But it's an old, 120-year-old cartridge, and a lot of people kind of roll their eyes. Another old guy with 30-06, and I get that. But, if it ain't broke, don't fix it is usually my mentality. And so I decided, though, I wanted to get a really lightweight rifle. I am getting older, and schlepping that old Ruger M77 with a 50-year-old loop-holed scope that weighs a lot more than the new loop-holed scopes weigh. And that whole package, is, gosh, about 9.8 pounds or almost 10 pounds. Not quite, but maybe 9.5. And that's pretty heavy, right? You're carrying other stuff with you when you're out hunting. And all I really hunt is blacktail. And if we're going to be real honest about it, I'm not that good. But we're running around mountains, steep terrain here in Western Washington. And most of my hunting is in the Cascades, usually between 1,500 and 2,500 feet of elevation. And the mountains are a bit rugged. So, an extra, saving a couple of pounds on the weight of your rifle does make a big difference, especially those times when it's not slung over your shoulder and you actually might be carrying it. I wanted a lightweight rifle. And I thought, if I'm going to carry a lightweight rifle, and I'm hunting mostly blacktails, guys, I'm not out there doing muleys or whitetails, and I've never hunted for elk in my life. Even though I've got a rifle that can handle elk, I've never done an elk hunt. We have some good elk hunting here in Washington too, but just haven't done it yet. And I figured, you know what? I could go with a little bit lighter cartridge. Now, there's a lot of talk these days about 6.5 Creedmoor and how, what a great, wonderful round that is. Now, of course, that round is actually designed for long-range shooting. That's why it's called Creedmoor. It's named after an event called Creedmoor for long-range precision shooting. These are guys that are taking shots at 1,000 yards. I'm not taking shots at 1,000 yards. It's just not going to happen. I don't have the patience for taking shots at 1,000 yards and putting it on a dinner plate sized target at that range. That's just what? No way. 1,000 yards, you can't even see the target. With the naked eye, you can barely see it through your scope. So, hey, not knocking that. The guys that do that kind of competition are amazing. It's just not for me. So I'm taking shots typically between, say, 75 and 150 yards. So anyway, I want to talk about that too much. The Tikka T3X has been done to death as far as reviews. Guys that are better gun reviewers than me have reviewed this gun, so I'm going to be real kind of light on the review here. It's more about the cartridge I chose for it, but everybody knows that Tikka's got that buttery smooth action. Of course, we're totally clear here as far as it's not loaded. They've got this little box magazine. It's kind of plastic and chintzy feeling. That's one of my complaints. It seems to be fine. It stays in. It doesn't, it's not easy to release it accidentally. So it's real good. I got no problem with that. I looked at Creedmoor, but I decided to go with a classic. Look at all this gray hair, right? Of course I did. I decided to chamber this gun in .243 Winchester. Now, .243 Winchester is often talked about as a round for, beginners or recoil-shy shooters and that sort of thing. And that's true, especially in an older gun. Like if I had .243 Winchester chambered in my Ruger M77 that weighs 9.5 pounds, there'd be no recoil. It'd be like shooting a .22 because that gun's heavy and it absorbs the recoil. But this was 5.9 pounds out of the box. Now, of course, I put a scope on it. It's a modern Vortex scope, nothing fancy at all. It's a Crossfire. It's a really good, inexpensive scope. And I've got some extra stuff on it. I bought the fatter rubberized grip with the more vertical, almost pistol-like here. I kind of like that kind of grip. And then I got the nice rubberized, textured little fore-end piece, both from Tikka, and that added probably a few ounces of weight to the gun. So, now maybe it's like 6.2 now. Still super lightweight, 1.5 pounds lighter than my other rifle. So this gun's super light. Well, even with 243 Winchester, this has got a little bit of recoil. Nothing that's going to freak anyone out. It's 243, right? But it recoils about the same as the 30-06. So it's a combination of Tikka kind of has a reputation with this rifle as being a little bit more of a kicker than other rifles in its peer group. And I would probably agree with that. But the recoil is by no means, a problem. But it kicks about as hard as my 30-06. Now, understand my 30-06, my M77, that's got a muzzle brake on it, and it's got a really good recoil pad on it, and it's heavy. So that's a light kicking 30-06. And this I would call a heavy kicking 243. So, a heavy kicking 243 is still light. So I wanted something lightweight, and I wanted something that, was going to be good for taking local blacktail. And this is it. 243 is perfect. With a 100-grain bullet, I can get 1,000 pounds of energy, 250 yards downrange, no problem. And I've never taken a shot in a hunting situation at 250 yards. I've never done it. I know a lot of people have, but I haven't. But why did I choose 243 Winchester over the 6.5 Creedmoor? You got a decent range of light load ammunition if you want to hunt something like coyotes or, light game. You can load this thing down to 65 grains or 70 grains, and you've got super high velocity, 4,000 feet per second plus, and you can go shoot that stuff. And I've thought about doing some coyotes, okay, because we've got a coyote problem out here, and the state is kind of begging hunters to go out and harvest coyotes because they're a little out of control. And so I thought, well, that might be kind of fun, and this is definitely better than 30-06 for coyotes. And then for deer, you just load it up to 100 grains, and you got plenty of knockdown for the deer well beyond 200 yards. And again, I'm not shooting beyond 200 yards. I'm not going to say I never will, but it's highly unlikely the way I plan my hunts. I generally plan them for shorter, closer encounters. And so that's kind of why I went with 243 Winchester. It's a great cartridge. You should look into 243 Winchester if you're thinking about a Creedmoor and you already own a larger caliber gun. Now, if you're buying a gun and you want one gun, Creedmoor is probably better than 243 Winchester because you can load the bullets up to 140 grains. And of course, the Creedmoor is going to have no issues at all at long range because that's what it was designed to do. I mean, a Creedmoor hits harder than a 308 once you cross that 500-yard threshold. So it's an impressive cartridge. I'm not a hater of the Creedmoor. A lot of people are. And let me tell you, it was hard not buying a Creedmoor because every single rifle I was interested in was available in multiple stocks and multiple arrangements in 6.5 Creedmoor. Finding this thing in 243 Winchester, I was like, I had to drive 40 miles to go get this thing. It was hard. And so but I really decided I was going to go with 243 Winchester. I really like that 308 neck down to a 24 cal. And it is a light kicking rifle. The rifle handles well. It's accurate. So they guarantee sub MOA. There's plenty of guys that tested this gun right here on YouTube and Rumble, and they're all tack driving this thing at 0.75 MOA. And I took it down to the range when I sighted it in for this season. And sure enough, once I got it sighted in, I always put a couple extra rounds through the sight in to make sure it wasn't that it's really lined up where it needs to be. And sure enough, I had an MOA or better. I put them all in like a nickel size group. So I was at 100 yards. So I was perfectly happy with a nickel size group at 100 yards. And frankly, that's sub MOA. I don't think a nickel is an inch wide. So I'm very happy with the performance of the gun. Just a couple of nitpick things. The stock is super light. In fact, I compared it to a couple of aftermarket carbon fiber stocks that you can buy for this gun, and this factory stock is lighter than some of the carbon stocks. Now, there are some carbon fiber stocks that will shave an ounce or two off the weight of this gun, but that's like $500 or $600. The problem with this stock is it's kind of ugly. It's just got a real cheap look to it. It looks like a cheap stock that you'd find on a $399 bargain rifle. And so it's like that. I don't like that. It looks a little dressier with these rubberized, I call them rubberized. I don't know if they're using rubber, but it's got a grippy, nice, you know, textured touch to it, you know, a grippy rubber touch to it. That dressed it up a little bit, but honestly, it felt kind of cheap. And, you know, this rifle's not cheap. I think I paid $950 for this thing. So, you know, it's not exactly cheap. And so it just doesn't. The Bergara B14 I looked at had a much nicer looking stock. I mean, much nicer looking. It was about 8 or 10 ounces heavier. And then I also looked at the Vanguard. The Vanguard from Weatherby was a beautiful rifle, but it was a little heavy. And I thought, nah, shoot 243. I'm going to carry a light rifle. I mean, if I wanted to buy a Magnum, I'd probably look at that Vanguard, you know, in either 300 Win Mag or in 300 Weatherby. But I wasn't looking for a Magnum gun. I was looking for something a little lighter. So anyway, they get the fluted barrel down here. So that helps you shave some weight there. It's all stainless receiver and barrel. It's a kind of a satin finish, so it's not glinting in the sunlight out there. I'm in Western Washington. What sunlight? But I'm happy with this gun. It shoots real well. I would imagine the fluted barrel thinned it out a little bit and might have overheating problems if you were shooting lots of rounds. It didn't seem to lose its accuracy when I was sighting in this Vortex scope. But I'm super happy with the gun. I'm delighted with it. And so I give it a big thumbs up. The trigger is great right out of the box. I don't know. I didn't do a trigger pull test on it, but I did not adjust it. It is an adjustable trigger, and I did not adjust it from the factory. It feels like it's about 2.5, maybe 3 pounds. And I think you can get this thing as light as 2 pounds and as heavy as maybe 5. It's got a range on there, and I feel like it's at the low end of that range, and that's fine by me. I don't need it to be a hair trigger. 2.5, 3 pounds is fine by me. You may feel differently though, but it is adjustable. Other thing, only just a little nitpick here. Don't like the plastic trigger guard, your polymer or whatever you want to call it. But it can be changed, which is nice. It's not molded into the stock. You probably can't see this here, but there's release screws here, and you can pull the whole assembly out. It's how you adjust the trigger, actually. You pull that out, and there's a little adjustment inside. But this can come out, and there are companies that make aluminum trigger guards for this. Believe it or not, the polymer is so lightweight, even the aluminum trigger guard is heavier. So it'll actually add, you know, 1/2 ounce to the weight of the gun. And maybe that's why Tikka, you know, decided to go with polymer. It's called either the T3X Light or the T3X Superlight. And this is the Superlight. So I get that. But it looks nicer. I mean, I'm sure this is strong. Today's polymers are so strong, you know. I'm still an old guy going, plastic, you know, but no, these polymers today but this is probably better than aluminum if we're really honest. It just doesn't look as dressy. And it's not like this is a super expensive rifle. It's not these are $1,500 or anything, but you know, $900, $950 for a rifle. That's not cheap, guys. Not when you can buy a Ruger American for $450, which is a good rifle. So it is an expensive rifle. It's not a, you know, I know there's guys out there buying Weatherby Mark Vs for $3,000. You know, that's not me. You know, I'd be afraid to take that thing out in the woods and use it. So for that kind of money, it's like driving a Ferrari on a dirt track. No, I wouldn't want to do that. That's just me. I just want a gun that's smooth, easy to operate, reliable, lightweight, and tap drives. That's all I'm asking for, right? Not much. Tikka does it. Frankly, the Bergara B14, almost bought one of those. If it weren't for this one being 1/2 pound lighter, I'd have probably bought the Bergara. That gun was a little bit the stock and the furniture on it was just a little nicer. I don't think most of the tests I saw that Bergara doesn't shoot any better than this. If it does, it's inconsequential. So, you know, the B14 it was a close second to this. Fantastic rifle. I did not get a deer with this rifle this year. Only had in 5 days hunting and schlepping this thing out in the woods. We had one big group of does come bounding down the mountain. It really, I wish I had filmed it. It was beautiful to watch them come down the mountain. They were like bounding, literally doing, doing, doing right down the mountain. And then they started munching on some grass right in the zone where we were ready to go, right? It was about 120 yards, 130 maybe, where they were grouped. And I was all over them with the glass, trying to see if there was a buck in there, because I was hunting in a unit where any buck was fair game, any buck. So there was one really big doe. I thought, that might be a young buck that doesn't have any hardware up top yet. And I'm glassing. I'm like, I'm looking at the facial features, and I'm like I said, I'm not Ron Spomer, okay? So I wasn't 100% sure if that was a young buck or a doe. I think it was a doe, so I didn't shoot. So I enjoy getting out in the wild and walking around, getting some exercise, which I don't get enough of. And when you're schlepping yourself up and down the foothills of the Cascade Mountains, you're getting your exercise. Tikka T3X Superlight. This one's available at Sportsman's Warehouse, but you can see a bunch of different variants, T3X lights, available at your favorite gun store. And I can really recommend it as a good shooter. It is as light as advertised. And if you buy a modern lightweight scope like this, Vortex Crossfire II, the whole package is really light. And real quick on this Vortex, I was a little, I'm kind of a glass snob. I really like Leupold's products, and that's partly because Leupold makes their scopes about 30 miles away from my house, so they're kind of local. The Vortex, it got a lot of nice reviews. I looked into it. They did not have in stock the equivalent Leupold scope to what I have. I have a Very X2, and I think they now call that the Freedom or something. It's about $400, and they were out, and they were out everywhere locally. So I gave this one a shot. I got to tell you, it's got a nice, bright, crisp, snappy image. You know, you're not getting Carl Zeiss quality here, but you can buy 5 of these for the price of a Carl Zeiss. And you can buy 2 of these, almost 3 of these, for the price of the Leupold that I was looking for. And I got to tell you, this thing performs pretty well. I'm actually very happy with it for the money. And these are under $200. I can't believe that I can get an optic that good for that cheap. In fact, it's a little bit better than my old Very X2. Now, that's not because it's a better scope than Leupold. I don't think it is. But it's because my old Very X2 is 40 years old, and they've improved the optical coatings over the years on scopes. And it's mainly, I think, the coating advantage. This has got modern 2022, coatings versus the old coatings on that Very X2, which were great in their day, but they're a little dated now. This is just a little bit brighter and crisper image than that. Whether it's sharper or not, sometimes when you have a brighter image, it appears sharper. This appears sharp enough. It's pretty good. And so I'm pretty happy with that little Vortex scope. So that's it. Highly recommended this gun. I'm going to do a video on 243 Winchester and why I still think it's a viable cartridge. But that will make that another video. But this is a great gun. If you're recoil shy, do not buy one of these in a heavy cartridge. Don't buy this in a 7 Magnum. Don't buy this in a 300 Win Mag. And maybe not even in 30-06. But recoil shy people are not going to want this in anything above 6.5 Creedmoor. So, or 708 or something like that. I don't know if they make it in 708, so you'll have to look that up. But they do make it in Creedmoor. Of course, everything's made in Creedmoor. And this gun was 6.5 Creedmoor or 243 Winchester. This is a great rifle. The recoil will be manageable even for recoil-shy people, and you're really going to love it. If you're a hunter that schleps out in the woods, you're going to love the lightweight. I mean, I've been standing there holding this thing in my one hand. I've had to switch a couple times, okay? But it's a super good gun. Highly recommended.